Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Soranandana Brajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Soranandana Brajanarandana Yashodanandana Brajanarandana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Sri Radha Madhava Ki Jai Nityalila Vishnu Musapada Divine Grace Lacey Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Ananda Guri Vaishnavrinda Ki Sadgosami Prabhu Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Brajabhumi Vrindavan Dham Ki Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Bolo Sri Sri Krishna Baldao Ki Jai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10. Our Pancharatna was reminding us yesterday, or 2 days ago, that this is the smiling face of Krishna. And with Bhagavatam class every day, it's taken so long to get here. We got here once before. We got up to the 13th chapter, which is the last one that Srila Prabhupada did. And then we decided to start over again. And now we finally, now we're at the end, 69, chapter 69. We're at the end of 10th canto. And this is chapter 69, Narada visits Krishna's palaces. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're beginning with Text number 25. We get to do a whole bunch of verses today, 6 altogether. Kvāpi sandhyām upāsīnaṁ japantam brahma vāk-yatam ekatra cāsi-carmābhyāṁ charantam asi-vartmasu kvāpi sandhyām upāsīnaṁ japantaṁ brahma vāk-yatam ekatra cāsi-carmābhyāṁ carantam asi-vartmasu kvāpi sandhyām upāsīnaṁ japantam brahma vāk-yatam ekatra cāsi-carmābhyāṁ charantam asi-vartmasu
japantam brahma vāk-yatam ekatra cāsi-carmābhyāṁ carantam asi-vartmasu
kvāpi sandhyām upāsīnaṁ japantam brahma vāk-yatam ekatra cāsi-carmābhyāṁ carantam asi-vartmasu
Ladies, kvāpi, somewhere, sandhyām, the rituals of sunset, upāsīnaṁ, worshipping, japantam, quietly chanting, brahma, the Vedic mantra, Gāyatrī, vāk-yatam, controlling his speech, ekatra, in one place, cha, and asi, with sword, carmābhyāṁ, and shield, charantam, moving about, asi-vartmasu, in the quarter set aside for sword practice. Translation. Somewhere Lord Kṛṣṇa was observing the rituals for worship at sunset by refraining from speech and quietly chanting the Gāyatrī mantra. Elsewhere, he was moving about with sword and shield in the areas set aside for sword practice. A purport by the followers of Divine Grace, Śrīla Prabhupada. According to Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī, the words sandhyām upāsīnaṁ indicate sunset rituals, whereas the words asi-carmābhyāṁ, charantam, refer to sword practice, which takes place at dawn. Om ajnana-timirandasya gyananjana-shalakaya chaksurun militam jena tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya-manobhistam stapitam jena bhutale Sayam rupa kadamayam dadati svapadantikam adadanastryanandantai hridamya che puna puna Srimad rupa padambujo dulisyam janma janmani Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatrubhyascha Kripasindhubhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So as we're going to see in the next few verses, that somewhere Krishna is doing sunset rituals, somewhere noon rituals, somewhere morning rituals. So it seems, as we're talking about Narada visiting all the different palaces of Krishna, because if you've heard how Krishna had 16,108 palaces. And so it seems like it took him the whole day, because some places he's describing dawn, some places he's describing midday, some places he's describing the end of the day. So he must have been going around to different palaces throughout the whole day. Just imagine, Krishna has 16,108 palaces. We can't imagine such a thing. So we'll go on to text number 26. Asvar gajai rata kvāpi vicharantam gajagrajam kvāchit chayanam paryante stuyamanam cha vandibi. In one place, Lord Gadagraj was riding on horses. Gadagraj is here. I don't see him. Riding on horses, elephants, and chariots. And in another place, he was resting on his bed while bards recited his glories. Purport. Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī points out that riding on horses and elephants is a noon activity, whereas one lies down during the latter part of the night. So in continuation, again, he's riding on horses, elephants is something that one does during the daytime. And of course, resting generally is done at night. So Narada is going from one palace to the next, and he's seeing different things going on. He must have been doing whole day, because sometimes he's describing like here noon, sometimes nighttime. Text 27. Mantrayantam cha kāsi-maschin mantriki pis chodavadibi jalakrida vratam kvāpi varamukyaba balavritam. Somewhere he was consulting with royal ministers like Uddhava, and somewhere else he was enjoying in the water surrounded by many society girls and other young women. Purport. This translation is based on Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book. According to Srila Viśvanātha Cakravartī, Lord Kṛṣṇa met with his counselors around dusk and enjoyed water sports in the afternoon. So consultation is something that's done at dusk time, just when the sun is setting, consulting for what we should do the next day. And playing around in the water is something in the afternoon, just like in the old days. I remember during the summer, we would practically close down the whole temple and we'd all run to Kusum Sarovar. Because now, unfortunately, they've locked it up. But at that time, we considered Kusum Sarovar the ISKCON swimming pool. Because it would be so hot, it would be like 45, sometimes even 50 degrees. So we would all just jump in a Sankirtan van and go to Kusum Sarovar and take our bath. So that's something you do when it's very warm in the afternoons. Text 28. Kutrachid dvija mukyebhyo dadantam iga svalankrita itihasa puranani srinvatam mangalani cha. Translation. Somewhere he was giving well-decorated cows to exalted Brahmins, and elsewhere he was listening to the auspicious narration of epic histories and Puranas. Purport. Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Thakur informs us that giving cows in charity occurs in the morning, while hearing the histories takes place in the afternoon. So generally we see that all the saintly persons, they go begging in the morning. So we want to give cows, auspicious cows in charity in the morning time, so that the rest of the day will be very, very auspicious. And he says, hearing the Puranas is something that's done in the afternoon. Just like we see in Gokul, Nanda Baba, he would be herding the cows all day, and in the afternoon he would come home, and then he'd sit down and he'd turn on the TV. Now that's what you guys do. Nanda Baba would sit down and read scriptures like Ramayana and Puranas. Because in Braj, nobody thinks of Krishna, as we've been hearing every day. Nobody thinks of him as a supreme personality of Godhead. He's their little Lala. But Ram, he's Bhagwan. If you go in the villages, you know, the village, they greet each other. Ram Ramji, Jai Sri Ram. All the villagers says, Ram, he's Bhagwan. Krishna, yeah, Amara Lala hai. So, afternoon time, after herding all the cows, then we sit down. In old days, then the grandfather, he would read, and all the children and grandchildren would sit and listen. And now we've invented this, it used to be called the boob tube in America, because it used to be just one big tube. Now we have digital screens and everything. We sit in front of this thing, and nobody talks. Among the family, nobody talks. They just sit there looking. Maybe a commercial comes. They may say a few things to the family members. And again, they're with greater dhyan than the yogis. They're staring at this thing. But actually, the evening time is meant that we should sit down and we should hear the scriptures. Just like one time we were in, many, many years ago. I'm sure it's all changed now. We were in Chitrakoot. And we were staying in a very wonderful place, maintained by our dear devotee from Bombay, Rishikesh, Muffet-Law. It's a very nice ashram right next to the Mandakini River. And one night we were walking up and down, because those days there was hardly any electricity, there was hardly any road. So we were walking down the street because we'd seen there's different temples there. We heard this very heavy, nice, enthusiastic kirtan going on from somewhere. as we were walking down the street, we saw little doorways, so we thought, must be some temple inside. So we just wandered in, and we kept following the sound, and then we found that the father was there, leading the kirtan. The grandson was playing the what do you call it, dolak. They don't have mridangas in Chitrakuta, they have dolaks. The wife was cooking the dal roti cow, Radha Krishna Guna Gao. The grandfather was sitting there with his big book of Puranas or something. So it was just a family. This is what they did in the evening. The sun went down, there was no electricity. So what do? You sit and chant Hare Krishna and read the Puranas. Now, unfortunately, that whole culture is gone. Now, I'm sure if I go back to, that was, 20, 30 years ago. Now, if we go back, I'm sure now they have electricity and no more Haribol. So, reading the scriptures, that's we should do in the evening time, especially. Or also morning time is very auspicious, as Prabhupada has given us this wonderful system of reading Srimad Bhagavatam every day. Anyway, so text number 29. Hasantam hasya kattaya kadachit priyaya grihe kvāpi dharmam sevanam arta-kāmasu kutrachit. Translation: somewhere Lord Krishna was found enjoying the company of a particular wife by exchanging joking words with her. Somewhere else he was found engaged along with his wife in religious ritualistic functions. Somewhere Krishna was found engaged in matters of economic development. And somewhere else he was found enjoying family life according to the regulative principles of the Shastras. Purport. This translation is again based on Srila Prabhupada's Krishna. Joking conversations take place during the nighttime. His husband is working all day, he comes home, and his wife is nicely decorated and very happily greets him at the door, and then they enjoy some joking words. So this is nighttime. Whereas religious, ritualistic, economic development and family enjoyment occur during both the day and the night. So finally we come to text number 30. Jayantam meka asinam purusham prakrite param shushru santam gurum kvāpi kāmair bhogai saparyaya. Translation: somewhere he was sitting alone, meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to material nature. And somewhere he was rendering menial service to his elders, offering them desirable things and reverential worship. Purport. Srila Prabhupada comments, meditation, as recommended in authorized scriptures, is meant for concentrating one's mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Lord Kṛṣṇa himself, the original Vishnu, but because he played the part of a human being, he taught us definitely in his personal behavior what is meant by meditation. This activity of meditation indicates the Brahma Muhurt, the early hours before sunrise. So of course Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, because Prabhupada is explaining here that the authorized scriptures describe that we should meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, especially at the Brahma Muhurt. This is most auspicious time. And what should be our subject of meditation? We should meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu or Krishna. So since Krishna, Prabhupada explains here, Krishna himself is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here we see he's meditating upon himself, just to set an example for us that this is the real process of meditation. Just like I can remember before we ran into the devotees, we used to also try to do meditation. And we'd all sit in a dark room and hold hands, and we put a candle, everybody be meditating on the candle in the middle of the room. Some people say, just like here, they say, well, Krishna's meditating on himself, so because we're all, I'm God, you're God, we're all God, we should meditate on ourselves. Because this was, I remember this was my philosophy also, that we're, because we used to take some type of intoxication, and at the height of it, we'd realize, I'm God, everyone's God. Look at all these foolish people, they don't know they're God. I'm God, I had it all, then the next morning I said, well, I had it all figured out yesterday night. What was that now? But anyway, somehow or other we were convinced that we were all God, but somehow we had forgotten. Although the first thing we learned, I was brought up as a Catholic, so we used to go on Sunday, we used to go to the catechism class, Sunday school. And the first thing they teach the little kids is that God knows everything. So if God knows everything, how he forgot himself? That means that these little children in the catechism class, they're more advanced than these big Mayavadi sannyasis who are trying to claim that we're all God, but we've forgotten. The first thing we learned is God knows everything. I remember somehow or other, we were living in the mountains above Boulder. We were also trying meditation. We sit in the mountains, and even in my younger days, it was very difficult to sit cross-legged. What to speak of now is impossible, but anyway, we used to try and arrange ourselves on the rock somehow, sitting in there and chanting, Ao Meo Padme Hum. And we'd open our eyes and expected to see the universal form of the something, special. And so we were chanting like that and thinking like that. And one day there was a friend of mine, we decided we'd go to the top of the mountain. And to get to the top of the mountain, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So we were going in a straight line, and suddenly we hit a big barbed wire fence that said, Boulder City watershed, trespassers will be prosecuted. And we thought, well, the only way we have to go across this place to get to the top of the peak. That's the shortest way. Who wants to go all the way around? So I looked at my friend, did you see any sign? I didn't see any sign. What sign? So we crawled between the barbed wire, and we did exactly what they didn't want us to do because the river was coming there. We all jumped in and just started, bathing in the river. And that was a Boulder City water supply, so that's why they didn't want people to go there and contaminate the water. Then we were walking, and we came up to the top of the ridge, and suddenly they were making a dam, and they had cut down all the trees and made everything very plain like this. So we were going to have to walk across this plain and then go up to the top of the peak. So before there was trees everywhere, so nobody saw us, but now we were walking in the open, so the forest ranger saw us, so he came and arrested us. I said, you boys is trespassing. I said, how can we be trespassing? I'm walking on I'm a son of God, so I'm walking on my father's property, so how am I trespassing? He says, well, son, I don't make the rules, I enforce the rules. You're going to have to tell it to the judge. So then he was going to take us down for jail. So he wanted to take his lunch. So while he was taking lunch, we emptied out all types of illegal things from our pockets. And he must have had a funny crop of things growing in his grass the next summer, next time it rained. So they took us down to we were put in jail. And then I was thinking, I'm God. God can't be in anxiety. Huh? God can't be anxiety. Well, I sure wish I was out of here, And I started doing all kinds of things trying to get rid of this anxiety of being stuck in this jail. And I kept thinking, I'm God. God can't be in anxiety. It's all one. Inside the jail, outside the jail, it's all one. I wish I was out of here. Finally, somehow or other, I started chanting Om. And the jail was all metal. So every sound, clank, 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 it just echoed everywhere. And as soon as I would stop chanting Om, all these clanking sounds would come down on top of me. Then suddenly I remembered that one girl had come into the park. There was a park in Boulder where all the young people used to hang out those days. And she brought a guitar and she started chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa. So we all grabbed our guitars and began to follow the chords that she was playing. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I remember that. I started chanting, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Somehow, although I'd never run into the devotees, but the Hare Krishna mantra became famous amongst all the young people. Especially there was a musical called Hair, and we used to go in Los Angeles and chant in front of the theater where they were playing. And the people would come out and they just heard the chanting, and all of a sudden we're there chanting and passing out magazines, and we'd sell a lot of magazines. So everybody knew the chanting, so we were just chanting. And all of a sudden it just didn't matter. Inside the jail, outside the jail, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa. And everybody was outside was, hey, shut up in there. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I was just so happy, just chanting and chanting and chanting. Didn't matter inside the jail, outside the jail. And somehow, because he had spotted us being taken down to jail, one guy who had a little bit of money, he came down and bailed us out. I was chanting away, and finally the jailkeeper came and says, oh, you can stop your chanting. Your friend came to let you out. But at that point, I realized that all my philosophy fell apart, because I was thinking, I'm God. God can't be in anxiety. Why am I in so much? It's inside the jail, outside the jail. It's all one. But all my philosophy fell apart. So I wish I was out of here. It wasn't until I was engaged in, even I didn't know I was serving. I was just chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa because I just remembered the chanting. I was pretending to have my guitar. I was playing all the chords. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And shortly after that, I did, because although I decided that living in the mountains above Boulder, this was heaven that the people talk about, this was a swarg that the Hindus talk about, this is the nirvana that the Buddhists talk about. Somehow our swarga got very cold at the end of the summer. So we had to come down, and we were in the park and the devotees came. And the first thing I said, because first devotee I met was Bhavananda. I said, but Bhavananda, aren't we all God? And he said, oh, you are God, and how you have forgotten. And I said, wow, that's right. Because we used to ask that question ourselves. I'm God, you're God, we're all God. Look at all these foolish people, they don't know they're God, How did they forget, And we never realized the real import of that question. If you're God, then how you forgot. And I said, wow, And then they had this beautiful poster of Krishna on the wall, and they pointed that this is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I'd never seen anybody so attractive. And it was that painting Murli Manohar, where Krishna, it didn't have a real crown, it's like a little cap on, like a little Jewish cap, but all decorated, and and he's playing his flute under the tree, and there's a waterfall. The water's coming, cascading down like this, and peacock is there in the tree. And I was just looking at that, wow, this is Krishna. That's what I was missing in the mountains, because I've seen the scene. There's a mountain scene, there's all pine trees. Oh, there's no, we don't see pine trees. We don't see pine trees in Vrindavan, but somehow in this poster there's pine trees, the moon is going down, and water is cascading down. We don't have any cascades. We have a nice, slow-moving river, but no cascades. But anyway, that painting, I was just thinking, wow, that's Krishna. That's what was missing. That was what was missing. By Srila Prabhupada's mercy, somehow or other we ran into the devotees. It was right on Janmashtami day also, we ran into the devotees, and somehow they gave us a wonderful feast, because they said next day is Krishna's birthday, and we're going to fast all day, and at midnight we'll have a special feast, 25-course vegetarian feast, an Indian recipe. So I was a cook, so I thought, oh, that's far out. I'll learn something, and oh my goodness. Those days there wasn't so many rules and regulations, so I got to help in the kitchen, and I was watching them, and the first thing that amazed me, they had this golden liquid called ghee. I had never heard of ghee or seen ghee, or, oil we knew and things like that, but ghee, and they make it hot, and they roll these pieces of dough completely flat, as thin as a piece of paper, and they drop it in the oil, and boop, it blew up like a balloon. I said, wow, this is magic cooking. And then they brought out something called poppers, and they put mustard oil, and they heated up the mustard oil, and they put this little wafer like this, and they go brrr, like that. So wow, And everything was so amazing. And we had never fasted till midnight. That was very heavy. Somehow they gave me a copy of that old blue Bhagavad-Gita that was like, 300 or 400 pages. We have 1,100 pages, but those days they edited it down to like 350 pages. But still, that made us a devotee. We started reading that during the day, and finally at midnight there was arti, and then we sat down for the feast. And I had never seen anything like this, puris and gurunga potatoes, because those days we didn't know that this was 1969. Nobody knew that you're supposed to have a Ekadasi feast. So we had the full-on grain feast at midnight, and puris and gurunga potatoes, and made with sour cream and halava. Wow, halava, that was an amazing thing. And so many wonderful things they had. And finally Bhavananda looked at me and he said, he picked up a sweet off his plate. And he said, you know what this is? I said, no. He said, this is a gulab jamun. And in those days, when I joined, the law was that you had to have the gulab jamun soak for 3 days before you offered it to Krishna. So this was a heavy-duty gulab jamun. And he took that gulab jamun, and he threw it in his mouth, bloop. And I thought, well, if he can do it, I can do it. So I picked up my gulab jamun and threw the whole thing in my mouth, bloop. And all of a sudden, all the sweet juice started coming out. And I thought, wow, this is it. Because Bhavananda, he knew exactly where I was at, so he was preaching, He said, hey, in the material world, everything gets dull. And that I'd already noticed, I had so many friends. I'm tired of acid. I want to try smack now, Everything gets dull after a while, There's a #1 song this week. Next week, it's on the bottom of the charts, and there's a new #1. Everything gets dull. I had noticed that about the material world, But he said in the spiritual world, sight is always heightening. Smell is always heightening. Touch is always heightening. And he'd go like that, and I would just go, And taste is always heightening. So in this gulab jamun, it just wasn't going to end. I thought, I made it. I'm in the spiritual world. So somehow they keep feeding me these things, and somehow I'm still here. And somehow by reading that little blue Bhagavad-Gita of Prabhupada, then all our, everything, just Prabhupada's introduction answered every question that was banging around my brain at those times. Every question that was in my heart, just in Prabhupada's introduction. He answered all the questions. It made so much sense that God is a person and that we're the servant, and by serving Him, He's Govinda, who gives pleasure to the senses. But the trick is, if we please Krishna's senses, then our senses automatically become pleased. Everything made so much sense. I said, wow. And this feast was so amazing, and ate so much prasad. We were in a log cabin, because they didn't have a temple then. They were just staying with some hippies in a log cabin outside of Boulder. And it was real log, not made with cut wood, but the logs like this, So I was just leaning against the wall and I was chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. And one side of my brain said, because he kept feeding me, take more of this spiritual food, take more, And I was thinking, wow. One side of my brain said, oh, I can't move. The other side of my brain said, if you could move, then where would you go? This is it. Chanting, dancing, and feasting, and the absolute truth is revealed to you. That was our motto when I became a devotee back in 1959. Chant, dance, and feast, and the absolute truth will be revealed to you. So I said, I'm not... my one half said, I can't move. The other said, if you move, wherever you go, this is it, So somehow we became a devotee. Somehow they keep giving us this wonderful prasadam. Somehow we're still here. And even before I was a devotee, people used to tell me, you don't tell stories, you tell movies. So I learned right on that one of the best things about, one of the best parts of devotional service is talking about Krishna's pastimes. I just dovetailed that service with the quality that Krishna had already given me. So I remember that practically one of the only stories I knew was about Hiranyakashipu. So people come to we finally got a temple, so people would come to the temple, and I would drag them in front of the picture of Hiranyakashipu, and I don't know what they thought. They're first coming to the Hare Krishna temple, the first thing they see some half man, half lion, ripping somebody apart, pulling his intestines. But that was the only story I knew, so I tell the whole story of Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad. Actually, in Chaitanya Mangala, it says that Mahaprabhu, because we always hear Mahaprabhu was always relishing this 10th canto where we are now. But in Chaitanya Mangala, it says that Mahaprabhu listened 100 times to Dhruva Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj's pastimes. 100 times he heard each one. Because first we have to understand who we are and what is our relationship with Krishna. Then when we get into the 10th canto, we can, these things are, we're just totally amazed. Every day we're hearing about this opulence of Dwarka, 16,108 wives we can't imagine. We were hearing the other day somehow in Hungary, they made a court case, and they made this accusation they're worshiping a god who's married to 16,000 girls, And so the devotee who was the defendant, he said, well, because the nun was sitting there, she was saying they're worshiping God with 16,000 wives, And he said, what's that ring on your finger? And she looked very nervous, because that means that when you became a nun, you became the wife of Christ. He said, these people are worshiping a God who's married to every nun on the whole planet, millions and millions. The judge, case dismissed. So Prabhupada said, if Krishna wanted to marry 16 million, we can't imagine, even just keeping one wife. We have so much trouble, especially now that Kali Yuga is very heavy. We see even keeping one wife is so difficult. We can't imagine 16,000 wives, my goodness. But Krishna could do it because he could maintain them. Prabhupada said, what, 16,000? He could marry 16 million. And he could maintain them all equally. So Krishna, he's inconceivable. And we're just, finally after so many years, we've gotten here to this 10th canto, and we're relishing all these wonderful pastimes. And here we're hearing about Narad Muni. He's going from one palace to the next whole day. In the morning, he's Brahma Muhurt, he saw Krishna meditating upon himself, because who else is he going to meditate on? And Brahma was very intelligent, you know. When Narad Muni asked his father, Lord Brahma, and everybody thinks you're the supreme, he said, but I see that you're meditating on someone else. And Brahma says very clearly, Narad Muni was very smart. He said, you're meditating on someone else, so who? He said, until one knows the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who's the absolute truth beyond me, one is sure to be illusioned by this material world. So Narad Muni was intelligent. We see people are trying to meditate to become God, but God is always God. It's not that he has to meditate to become God. Not that he stuck his finger in the light socket and got a big shock, and he went to the other side of the room, banged his head, he saw this big light, and then he realized, you know, I'm the new 16-year-old avatar, I realize that I'm God and you're all God. Not like that. Krishna at all times. We read in the very beginning of 10th canto that even as a little tiny baby, he killed this Putana who, when she took her regular form, she was, what was it, 8 miles, 12 miles? I can't remember now. 12 miles long. It's even as a baby. So Krishna is always God. It's not that he has to become God. So Prabhupada has saved us from this. The absolute sentience thou hast proved, impersonal calamity thou hast moved. This is big calamity to understand that I'm God. This is the last trap of Prabhupada's, the last trap of Maya. I'm God, you're God, we're all God. Just like somebody on Facebook the other day there's some crazy guy who was saying, the me that is in me is talking to the me that is in you, and the you that is me is listening to the me that is... And all the devotees' comments, they're just laughing and laughing. So Prabhupada has saved us from all this craziness and given us pure Krishna consciousness. So we'll leave some time if anybody has any questions. We'll try to answer them. Yes. Jigasu.
So in Vrindavan, all the Goswamis, they had riches and wealth, and they renounced for the renounced life, you know, it seemed the village life, the simple life. So in Vaikuntha and Dwaraka, Krishna had so many palaces with diamonds and jewels and gold and, you know, nice dress and performing all kinds of household activities. So what lesson is he teaching us concerning renunciation or the desire to have an opulent lifestyle in a palace with a family?
Well, he's showing that in all the activities, Krishna was the center. Somewhere he's just reading the scriptures, somewhere he's meditating, somewhere he's giving charity. So Krishna was demonstrating that this is that even if you're a householder, you still remain Krishna conscious.
Thank God.
That was the main thing that they always used to, in the old days, we always say, you don't have to leave anything, just add Krishna. So we just add Krishna to everything. Just like Sudama, he was living in a small hut, you know, and after he went to Krishna, of course, he was too embarrassed to ask him for anything. So he went home, and all of a sudden, here's this huge palace and all these things. But still, he accepted this is Krishna's mercy, but he used all this opulence to worship Krishna. Just like now, somebody may have a lot of wealth, they can give a nice donation. I mean, we see every day, we're just amazed. We see the beautiful outfits that Gaura-Nitai, Krishna Balaram, C.C. Radhasham, Sundar have. Somebody donated for those outfits, somebody has donated, just like that those sing-a-songs when I was temple president, then I think Ramdas, he donated that one for Krishna Balaram, and then Vishnu Murti, Surdas's father-in-law, he donated the one for Gaura-Nitai and one for Radhasham Sundar. So even your business becomes yoga, because by the result of that business, you give the results to Krishna. People always say that Krishna says you have to do your duty, but they leave off the next part. He said, but you should give the result to me. So this is practical yoga, that whatever we're doing, we continue doing, but we add Krishna. We're making money, so some of that money we take and we sponsor some Gitas for the Gita Marathon, or we help build this brand new project that's coming up. We're all impatiently waiting to see something actually happen there, and so even our business becomes a yoga, because I'm making money, but then I use that money to help spread Krishna consciousness, or to decorate the temple, or to serve the devotees. Or just like myself, I like to tell stories, so now I tell stories about Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So yeah, stories about Krishna are very nice. Many times we speak about them. And however, we know that Mahaprabhu and the pure devotees relish every verse in Bhagavatam. But at least for myself, I find that in earlier cantos, you mentioned that now we are on the second time we are reaching the end. But in the earlier cantos, sometimes we find a little hard to read, or we're not relishing as much, a little philosophical or dry.
Disease conditions, like sugar candy tastes bitter to somebody who's got jaundice. But that's you keep taking that mystery, and after a while it becomes sweet. So one day we realize that every part, Prabhupada said, just like a bowl of sugar, wherever you come from, it's sweet. So Bhagavatam, every corner is sweet. Our hearts are contaminated. That is the problem. But we go on listening anyway. Yes, good at her. Where's our Bhakta mic? Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the class. So the Mayavadis, they believe in crazy philosophy, nonsensical philosophy.
They believe in?
Philosophy that is wrong philosophy. Yes. And these people may be even very intelligent, and still they come to believe something totally wrong. It looks like they are getting punished. They are getting punished because they have the wrong attitude. They don't want to be a devotee of Krishna, so Krishna is punishing them to believe something totally wrong like that. Is it correct?
What did he say? There's echo in the accent, I can't.
Can't understand the question.
No.
Anyone knows what the question is? We can't understand you.
No, because I was thinking that as a devotee, we try to understand nicely the philosophy, but we have to realize the philosophy in the heart to become very Krishna conscious. It has to be realized knowledge, so become...
Anyway, it's hard for me to understand, but all I can say is that there's... Prabhupada explained one time, there was a institution in Austria that taught music or piano, and the course was $500. But if you already know piano, then you have to pay $1,000 because they want you to learn their way of doing things. So they have to have to make you unlearn whatever you've learned. And so that's what it is. This is a problem in India, that everybody has become bewildered by this Mayavad philosophy, so it's very difficult to give $1,000 to become Krishna conscious instead of $500. But anyway, Prabhupada's books are very clear and have saved us all from this deep, dark. Jiva Goswami says, when describing about Jiva Goswami, says, Viśvanātha Cakravartī says, the shining glories of the great Krishna, they fell into the black hole of Mayavad philosophy. But Sri Jiva, by his pure nectarine words. He saved those shining glories of the great Lord Sri Krishna. So that Jiva we offer our humble obeisances. So Jiva rescued, they were trampled in the mud of Sankhya, and they got thrown in the black hole, and they got lost in the dust storm of useless arguments. But Jiva has rescued those shining glories of the great Lord Sri Krishna. So by studying carefully, Prabhupada's books will come to the right conclusion, and our spiritual life will blossom. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, for the wonderful class. We have come to learn that Krishna expanded himself into 16,108 forms.
Yes.
And Mahaprabhu also did expand himself into 4 forms during Bera Sankirtan, and into 7 forms during the Ratha Yatra.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any incarnations of the Lord who expanded like this?
I don't know, I can't think of any. Krishna's pastimes are the most amazing. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Anyway, we can all bow down at the very soft and wonderful lotus feet of the great personality who's made everything very clear for us. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.